Hi everyone, this is Lana from Lana Under Pressure, and in this video I'm going to show you how I make my creamy cauliflower soup. This cauliflower soup is one of my favorite all-time soups. I adapted it from a recipe that I found in America's Test Kitchen, which I think is one of the great cookbooks and cooking sites out there. But their recipe I felt needed a little more flavor, and also I didn't like how much babysitting you had to do and the amount of time that it took to make this soup. Well, I was able to use the Instant Pot and convert it with a few extra changes to make this into a soup that almost tastes like a baked potato soup. In this soup, it's going to taste like it has a lot of cream in it, a lot of butter. You're going to think you're eating like a baked potato soup. It is gluten-free, it's healthy, it's keto, and if you substitute the butter that I'm going to use for margarine, it's dairy-free as well. For such a flavorful and complex tasting soup, it's amazing that it really only has 3 main ingredients. Cauliflower, of course, a small onion, and 1 leek. And I like to prepare these ahead of time, so once I start cooking, it goes really quickly. For the garnish that goes on top of the soup, we're going to saute 4 tablespoons of butter. Now the reason I'm doing the garnish first is because you can cook this garnish and set it aside, clean out the Instant Pot, and then go ahead and cook your soup. So by the time the soup is ready, the garnish that you're going to put on top is already done. Once your butter is melted, and again, if you want to make this vegan or dairy-free, you can use a substitute or just not put this on at all. But once it's melted, we're going to add a cup of the florets, the smaller ones, that you're going to reserve when you cut up your cauliflower. And just allow this to brown in the brown butter, and when you start getting that nutty smell, that's when you know it's about ready. And when you have a little bit of brownness around the cauliflower, make sure you scrape up the bottom and get all of that brown butter pieces. And once it's done, take a slotted spoon and remove the cauliflower. And then you want to reserve that butter because that butter is part of that garnish. So just pour it off into a bowl. I've prepared all of the vegetables, but you're going to cut up your cauliflower into florets, but you want to make sure to reserve the core because you're going to slice the core and we're going to use this as well in the soup, and that adds another depth of flavor to this soup. The leeks, you want to make sure that you rinse really well and then slice them up into very thin slices, and it may look like a lot, but once we cook them down, they really wilt. And this is sliced half of that yellow onion. In our cleaned Instant Pot, we're going to add 1 tablespoon of butter. And a tip whenever sauteing in the Instant Pot is to make sure once you press the saute button that you wait for this display to say hot and then add your food. Now, once the butter is completely melted, that's when we're going to add our leeks and our yellow onions to the pot. Add in all of the leeks to our melted butter. And I like to give it a stir just to coat it all with the butter. Then add the onions. And because they're sliced so thin, everything's going to cook pretty quickly. Now notice my pot is like spinning around. A great tip is to help you with that, get an alligator clip or a clip and just clip it to the side. And see, now it's not spinning anymore. So stir so everything is coated with butter, and then allow it to cook for about 5 to 7 minutes. And you're ready to add the rest of the ingredients. Now that our leeks and onions are sauteed really well, I'm going to add 4.5 cups of water. I'm going to stir, making sure to scrape the bottom really well. Next, I'm going to add in 5 teaspoons of Better Than Bouillon, the chicken. You can use the vegetable one Or instead of water, you can use 4½ cups of chicken stock or vegetable broth, whatever you prefer. And when you add that in, make sure you stir really well. And you'll notice that the Instant Pot is still on saute. I want to bring this liquid to a boil before I add half of the cauliflower and all of the cauliflower core. Our liquid has come to a boil. Now we're ready to add our cauliflower. First, you want to make sure you turn it off. And we're going to add all of the core straight in. And then only half of the cauliflower florets. Make sure you remove the clip. I've done that before and then couldn't figure out why the darn lid wouldn't go on. And now, put our lid on. Make sure it's in the sealed position. And we're gonna set our Instant Pot to cook on high pressure for 9 minutes. Once it's done, we're going to manually release the pressure. That means we're gonna turn our valve to the unsealed or vent position and release all of the pressure manually. Once we've manually released all the pressure, we're gonna open the lid and add the other half of the cauliflower florets. Then we're going to replace the lid, turn the valve to seal, and cook for 10 minutes this time on high pressure. The reason we do this twice is because adding a second half of the cauliflower adds to the texture of the soup instead of making it kind of like one note. It really does make a big difference. Our soup is done cooking, so again, we're going to turn it off and do a quick release by putting our valve to the vent position and releasing all of the pressure. Now our soup is ready to be blended or pureed. I can't fit all of the soup to blend it at one time, so I have to do it in batches. Now because it's hot liquid and there's a lot of steam going to come out, a good tip is to take off the top of your blender so that the steam will rise out. But to keep from making a mess, you can put a towel over it. And then we're just going to pulse and blend it until it's creamy. And I like to start on low and just pulse a little bit at a time. And then as it starts to get creamier and break down, you can go ahead and let it run for about 30 seconds. My first batch is done blending. I'm gonna pour this into this container and blend the rest. I'm done blending our soup, and you can add it back to the Instant Pot and use the Instant Pot to keep it warm if you want. It's already nice and thick and creamy, but the longer you let it sit, the thicker it will get. And the way you would serve this is just ladle some into your bowl. And that's fantastic. And with the garnishes we made, you can take that brown butter that now has cooled so it's a little thicker and just drizzle it over the top, kind of like just some little dots, or however, get fancy if you want. And then add the browned cauliflower. And there you have it, my perfect creamy cauliflower soup. Thank you so much again for watching, and I hope you enjoyed my recipes. All of my recipes and the things that I've mentioned, you can find a link to them in the description below. Please subscribe. Thank you so much for watching again. Happy holidays. Bye.